We flew into Riga, Latvia, and it was during the summer. First thing I noticed looking out was it was so much greener than I thought it would be. Just forests everywhere. We landed, and it's a rather small airport, so that was kind of an experience in of itself. Um, and you start hearing the languages for the first time, and you realize that you don't. We're not in Kansas anymore. You just can't understand anything. And then I remember our mission president, President Boswell. He picked us up from the airport, and we drove into Riga Center, which is where the mission home was located. Probably, I think it still is, and it's located like literally like dead in the center of downtown, prime real estate area, and it was great. Like we got in there. And the first thing I noticed looking around at the city was I was stunned with how much graffiti was around. Actually, I didn't have any experience with that before, so it kind of at first the first impression I had was like, man, this kind of maybe a little bit ghetto, like a little bit different of an atmosphere than what I'm used to. So I saw that, and that was I still remember that was my first impression of the city was like, wow, like that's a lot of graffiti. But later on in the mission, we actually you get used to the graffiti, and in fact, you end up like seeing like typical graffiti artists that did certain things, and you're just like, wow, he did a really good job on that one, or so you start evaluating them, and a lot of missionaries they go back and end up missing the graffiti that they saw everywhere. Sometimes it was pretty tasteful graffiti. So, well, right after we got there, I remember I remember being taken out first day, and I was taken out with a missionary who was returning home. I can still remember his name. And he was leaving to. Well, he was going back home, probably the next week or so, and he took me around the city. We went contacting, so talking to people just on the street. And I remember the first real experience I had with talking with someone. It was this lady, and I didn't realize it at the time from growing up in Utah, but she was really, really drunk and possibly on drugs, and I just didn't know those type of people before. So we started talking to her, and I didn't understand too much of what she was saying, just being out of the MTC. And my my companion, he all of a sudden receives a phone call on his cell phone, so he just goes a little bit down the way, still within sight and sound, but just so that he could take this call. And he leads me to talk with this lady first, like speaking experience on my own. I was pretty nervous, and I'm just speaking to her. And then all of a sudden she grabs my hand and starts like leading me away. And I'm like, what's going on? Hey, elder. And he has to come over, and he pulls my hand out of her and thanks her for her time, and we leave. And that was a pretty funny experience that I remember having at the beginning. But we met a lot of awesome people that day. We went around to some of the parks in the area. I remember this one park called Frog Park because they had like these stone frogs everywhere. And I talked to some really, really nice people there. I can't remember if we got their numbers or not, but it was a good experience. And then that week I was put with my trainer. He actually grew up in Russia, and then he was adopted when he was about 10. Came here to America, and then he got called Russian speaking. So he became my trainer. And we served in Vilnius, Lithuania, which is another really, really green, really, really pretty area. And man, I just love Vilnius. We lived in city center, right by what was the party street, where all of the party businesses were located and all the tourists were around. So we got to meet a lot of really, really nice people there. But the interesting thing about where we were at the time, most people, they spoke Lithuanian in center. So if we wanted to speak Russian, we'd have to go a little bit north, the northern part of the city, where there's like a section of the city where there's tons of Russians that speak. And where tons of Russians live, rather, and we got to go up there all the time and teach people. But it was great being in Vilnius and really kind of getting my feet wet a little bit. Within the first week, I went on my first exchange. My trainer, he was a zone leader at the time, and another Russian companionship that was in Vilnius with us. The senior companion, he was a district leader. He was our district leader, and his companion was also a trainee that just came out with me in the from the MTC. So within the first week, my trainer, he had to go on splits or exchanges with the district leader as part of his like normal like leadership duties. So that put us two trainees together. And that was an experience in Vilnius in of itself. We didn't know the area hardly at all. And we set up an appointment to meet with this family, and we were super excited. We had made snickerdoodles to bring to this family, and we had this whole lesson planned, and hopefully we were going to be able to deliver it in Russian. And so we ended up getting lost in Vilnius, and we never ended up getting to their house. We called them a few times, and we're like, "Oh, we're sorry, like we're not going to actually make it." But they just laughed and they teased us about it for a long time. But it was just fun, and we ended up meeting a really funny and really nice teenager on a bus as we were going home for the night after we could not find their house. And I think we ended up getting his number, and then we also gave him our snickerdoodles, some of them, and that was a really fun experience, just speaking on our own type of thing. Another experience I remember is my trainer. He, from the first week on, he would have me speaking on the phone with people in Russian, like whoever would call, like the members or the investigators, and whenever we would have to make calls. So I remember being super nervous about that. And I was like, "Elder, I can't do this." And he's like, "Elder, the thing that you gotta remember is when it comes to the gift of tongues, if you need to know it, you'll know it." Now, I'm not sure if I don't know what they said, so I don't know if that was completely true in that situation, but I was able to survive, and so did our investigators, so it was great.